Welcome to the third of our World Cup previews. Today we're on to Group E, where France look the overwhelming favourites, and Group F, where Argentina are unarguably the standout team. With me to talk through the dynamics is betting analyst Nigel Seeley. Nigel, let's start with France, and they really would have to mess up to not get out of this group, but they've got a history of really messing up, haven't they?
Well, they finished bottom of their group when they were defending champions. They got turned over by Senegal. They've been at bottom of the group before as well in their last World Cup. They've been very lucky with the draw, and they've been very lucky when they're getting through to this route. I mean, they were 2-0 down against Ukraine and won 3-0 in the
But the manager has kicked out, or at least not selected, the ones that he thinks are the troublemakers. So does that mean that they're a bit more settled?
Well, yeah, but I mean, the problem with France at the moment is scoring goals. I mean, they've got Giroud and Remy up front. They're firing a few blanks in the warm-up games, and that's going to be the big problem for them. They should get through the group, but odds on, you wouldn't back them. You just can't trust the French in any sport, and when they're favourites like this, I wouldn't touch them. The interesting one here, though, is the Swiss side. I mean, we'll come on to that in a minute, but the French side, for me, they should get through. They've been very lucky with the draw they have, but are the players they have, the crop of players, as good as other teams? I don't think Remy and Giroud are a formidable strike force to win a World Cup. They may get out. They will get out this group, but I'm not necessarily sure they get out as winners. OK, well, you mentioned the Swiss. They've got some good players, good coach, and a habit of springing surprises. They beat Spain, of course, last time out. A real threat? A real threat. I mean, they're 8 places higher in the FIFA World Rankings than France. They're 8th and France are 16. Their qualification was superb. They're very formidable at the back. They don't concede many goals. And they're very workmanlike, very English in the way they play. I can see them upsetting the French. I really can. Very, very interesting to see how the bookies price up that game, because if the French are too short, I think I'll be a big layer of the French match for that match. I fancy Switzerland to get something from it, and for that reason, I think they're a great bet to go through to as winners. They're 11-4 to win it. Clear second favourites. You've either got odds on French or 11-4, and they're 8 places higher in the FIFA World Rankings. That is just not something that people do. This is over a consistency over 6 or 7 years worth of figures to go by. They beat the French in the World Cup before, in the last World Cup, and they beat the Spanish. I like the Swiss strong. OK.
Ecuador, the better of the two South American teams in this group. Presumably conditions will suit them perfectly.
They'll do all right. I think they may upset one of the teams. I think they may get a point against France, or they may turn Switzerland over, because Switzerland have a habit of winning games and then losing against the teams they should win. I think this will be a very close group. I really do. I think there will be everything to play for, between the 3 sides, not the full side. I think it'll be everything to play for going into the final group. So I don't think they'll win it. I don't think they'll get through. But I think on a one-off match, they can upset one of these somewhere along the way, but I don't think consistently they can do it over 3 games.
And finally, Honduras, you say not possibly whipping boys, but they've got nothing to lose. They're a strong physical side. Yeah, but they are going to be whipping boys. This is where the French could have a chance getting through over the other teams, because I think once they play Honduras out between the 3 of them, I think they will beat the minnows by the most goals. So their goal difference, which I think will come into play in this group, will be huge. And also, we go about the fact that playing teams in dead rubbers last. Switzerland play them last. And that is the reason why I like Switzerland as well at 11-4 to win it. So Honduras, if they can score a goal, they've done well. But I think they're going to be whipping boys here, but quite convincing whipping boys. Big price, one of the biggest prices out of all the teams in the group stage, and the big price for a reason. So France and Switzerland to get through? I'm going to go for Switzerland to win the group, France to qualify, and Ecuador will be very close and may turn one of those teams over or get a draw against them, but over 3 games I can't have it. And Honduras, well, it's all over for them now. OK, they haven't even got there. Let's get on to Group F then. Argentina, of course, many people's tip for the whole tournament. Is Lionel Messi going to be at his best, and can they strike us a better balance between this not so strong defence but all that attacking talent?
Well, I think this is a very anyone can win this World Cup. Anyone. I mean, you are in the top 10 in the best in a bit of form, but this side is collectively the best group of individuals, and if they can play as a team, I think they should be favourites. I think their route through to the semi-finals is pretty easy. I mean, compare that to the Brazil's route, it's a very easy draw. And Brazil are only favourites because of the home advantage, and I don't think the home advantageous thing here in this World Cup is going to be as good as it was in other previous ones with the pressure they're under. So I think everyone's right to be keeping Argentina up to win the group. They've been back to win the whole thing. They've been back from 6-1 into almost 4-1 now to win it. And on the group stage, they're the shortest price out of any other teams to win the group. And at 1-4, I think it's as good as finding money on the street. 1-4 prices don't really entice punters. They're not really interested in it. But I think everything about Argentina screams goals. And you can back Argentina at 4-1, I think, to be the top scoring team in the World Cup. and I think they can have it done by the group stages. And the players they have, Higuain, Aguero, Messi, they've got goals from everywhere you look, and they can afford the luxury of leaving Carlos Tevez at home. So I think every market you play in Argentina, you've got to be looking at them here. I think you've got to if you back those 3 players to be the top goal scorer in the competition, they could have it wrapped up in this group as well.
So let's talk about the group then. Nigeria, fewer star players than before, but good team spirit?
Well, you never know what turns up. They could be world beaters or absolutely awful, and that inconsistency is a big problem for me. So that's why they're 12-1 around this time. They had their peak in the early 90s, and they haven't really done anything domestically either. They haven't done anything on the African Nations Cup. So I think all the African Nations teams are really poor this time around, and Nigeria would be one of the teams I oppose here. I think if there is a shock, it's not going to be for Nigeria.
Okay. Bosnia-Herzegovina, I mean, they've done well to get there. Is that it?
Well, no, it's not. I think they're a real lively contender here. I don't think they'll win the group, but I definitely think they'll go through as runners-up. I mean, this screams goals again. I mean, in Dzeko from Manchester City, they've got a guy who's got a fantastic record in international football, and he's going to have a field day against Iran and Nigeria. His physical presence is going to be huge, and I can see him scoring lots of goals in this group. So they will go through. They've got a good manager. They've got a good setup. They've got some good youngsters, and what you need is a goal scorer, and they've got that in Dzeko. International level, he's second to none.
Okay, and finally Iran. They seem to be here to make up the numbers. Is that it?
I don't really know much about Iran, to be fair, Nige, but I think that the Iranians would have been very disappointed when they saw the draw, and I just think they are going to be in trouble, aren't they? I mean, if they kick off their game against Nigeria, which is a nice start, but then they play Argentina in the second game, and that could be anything. I mean, it could be absolutely anything. I always find the second games, the better nations win by more convincingly, because they have to win to get that to book their place in the second match. So the fixtures haven't been kind here. I can see them losing at least 6 or 7. I remember when Germany played Saudi Arabia and lost 8-0, and Klose scored 4 goals. That could be the game that gets the golden boot for Aguero or Messi, because I can see them scoring at least 4 against that Iranian side.
Okay, so Argentina go through with Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Yeah, Argentina win the group. 4-1 on, not a very attractive price, but it's probably the best bet, and it's the shortest price for a reason. Bosnia will go through. Dzeko is an outsider for golden boot. He can get a few goals here.
Okay, Nigel, thanks very much for that. That is it for this episode. My thanks to Nigel Seeley. Do check out all the other groups available on demand and regular updates as the tournament progresses. I'm Nigel Stevenson. This is Reuters.